Then inshallah we will talk about some consideration during the public health emergency. راح يكون إن شاء الله يعني simple lecture وعندنا برضو repeated information من last lecture of transmission based. الصوت واضح؟
واضح واضح.
طيب الريسبيراتوري هايجين والكافيه etiquette this program consider the first line of defense against the healthcare infection because it's composed of prevention measures that are applying from the entry point once the patient enter the healthcare facility and throughout the visit of the patient. That's why we are considering respiratory hygiene and cough etiquette program the first line of defense against the infection inside any healthcare facility. And this behavior or this measure should be, as we mentioned, employed all the time or implemented all the time, and especially when there are signs and symptoms of respiratory infection. And the main goal of this program is to prevent the spread of respiratory pathogen inside the healthcare facility. Respiratory illness may be spread inside the healthcare facility by one of the following method, by direct method like the coughing or sneezing, or by loud talking between the patient and the susceptible person, or indirectly by touching by your hand contaminated surface or contaminated object and then contact your face or mouth or nose. This is the respiratory illness how be transmitted inside the healthcare facility, even by direct or indirect methods. Respiratory hygiene and cough etiquette infection prevention measures are designed. This is the main goal of the respiratory hygiene and the cough etiquette is to limit the transmission of respiratory pathogen that are spread by droplet or airborne route, as we talk in the transmission-based precaution lecture. This is the respiratory infection that are or respiratory pathogen that are transmitted by droplet or airborne route. This is the targeted pathogen by the respiratory hygiene and the cough etiquette. Measures for the respiratory hygiene and the cough etiquette should be implemented. As we mentioned, this is the first line of defense against the infection transmission inside the healthcare facility, because it starts from the point of entry to the healthcare facility to contain the respiratory secretion from the infected patient and a combining individual who have signs and symptoms of respiratory infection, and such measure must be continued throughout the visit. Staff in the all clinical office should collect simple triaging information on the phone at the time of booking. So it's also include measure before the patient come during the booking an appointment for the patient by simple triaging by the phone and asking about if they have a sign or symptoms of respiratory infection. Also, it's include the signs that should be posted at the entrance with a clear instruction to the patient with signs and symptoms about the preventive measure and the control measure to prevent the infection transmission inside the healthcare facility. Dental healthcare practitioner should be educated and trained on the importance of the infection prevention measure to contain the respiratory secretion and to activate the respiratory hygiene and cough etiquette to prevent the spread of respiratory pathogen inside the dental setting when examining and caring for the patient with signs and symptoms of respiratory infection, which include, as we mentioned, coughing, congestion, if the patient have runny nose or increased production of respiratory secretion. The dental healthcare practitioner must also screen themselves and activate the self-reporting to the employee health clinic or to the infection control if they have signs and symptoms of the respiratory infection to prevent the transmission of this type of infection inside the healthcare setting. For the respiratory infection, unlike the blood-borne pathogen, respiratory pathogen can be spread by both clinical and by casual contact with the patient or among the member of the dental team. That means the respiratory pathogen is not only limited to the clinical procedure exposure, but it also can happen by the casual contact between the team itself or themselves or by the contact with the patient infected by respiratory pathogen. Also, the respiratory hygiene and the cough etiquette include the presence of signs. Signs are posted at the reception area at the entrance of the healthcare facility, instructing the patient and the accompanying person to identifying the symptoms of respiratory infection, to self-report symptoms of respiratory infection during the registration of the patient have signs and symptoms of respiratory infection, to encourage them to report this sign and symptoms to the dental staff or the healthcare staff. Practice respiratory hygiene and the cough etiquette and wear a face mask as needed, as we mentioned, to source control and prevent the transmission. Cover their mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing, using and the right disposal of the tissue while they are sneezing or coughing. Perform also the hand hygiene after hand have been in contact with the respiratory secretion. Triaging, the triage, it's also a component of the respiratory hygiene and respiratory hygiene program. The main aim is to identify the person with potential respiratory infection at the entry point or at the start point to control or to prevent the transmission of the respiratory infection inside the healthcare facility. Facility staff should remain alert for any person arriving with respiratory infection symptoms. So all the facility staff should be educated and trained about the respiratory infection sign and symptom to be alert for identifying any person when arriving or during the dental visit about the presence of respiratory sign and symptoms. All the person with signs and symptoms of respiratory infection, including the healthcare worker themselves, are instructed to wear the surgical mask. If they have signs and symptoms of respiratory infection, we will instruct them to wear a surgical mask, to cover their mouth and nose with a tissue when coughing or sneezing. Also, the right way to dispose the used tissue in the nearest waste receptacle. Perform the hand hygiene after contact with respiratory secretion and contaminated object. Also to uh, highlight the right way for doing the hand hygiene after contact with respiratory secretion or contaminated object. It's very important when making appointment and upon arrival at the facility, asking the patient to reschedule if they have sign or symptoms of respiratory disease. This is the best practice followed by the most recent guideline to avoid an unnecessary loss of productivity due to the employee illness, also to prevent the transmission of respiratory infection inside the healthcare facility. Respiratory hygiene. The following measure will minimize the transmission of respiratory illness. As we mentioned, tissue, the presence of tissue in the waiting area, in the also distributed very well inside the healthcare facility, and the presence of no-touch receptacle for disposal of tissue should be provided to minimize the exposure and to minimize the contamination to this receptacle by the infected person. The mask should be offered also to the coughing patient or the patient that have signs and symptoms of respiratory infection and other symptomatic person when they enter the dental setting. So we will offer them a mask to make source control for the respiratory secretion. Resources for performing the hand hygiene should be provided in or near to the waiting area of this patient. Also, the presence of instruction for performing the right way for the hand hygiene should be posted beside the hand hygiene station. Spacing between the chair and the waiting area should be provided, and person with signs and symptoms of respiratory infection should be encouraged to sit at least 2 meters or 6 feet away from the other patient to make enough space to prevent the exposure or to prevent the transmission of this infection. If available, the facility may place this patient in a separate area while waiting for care. So the best way, if they have a separate area, we will put this patient inside this separate area until evaluated by the dental team, or if not available separate area, making a spacing in the waiting area so the patient with signs and symptoms of respiratory infection, we make a space at least 2 meters from the other patient. Instruct the patient to cover their mouth and nose with tissue when coughing or sneezing, or cough or sneeze into their upper sleeve if the tissue is not available or in far away from the patient. This is also from the right practice to control the secretion of the respiratory infection, not in their hand, because the hand is used and maybe it come in contact with other person or contaminate the other surface by the other hand. So if the tissue is not available, instruct them to use their upper sleeve when sneezing or coughing in the waiting area or inside the healthcare facility. Use the nearest waste receptacle to dispose the used tissue after the use, and very important to perform the good hand hygiene, even hand washing with plain soap and water, or using the alcohol-based hand rub or the antiseptic hand wash after having contact with the respiratory secretion and the contaminated material. If there is need to call the patient ahead inside the healthcare facility to be evaluated by the dental team, have the patient with signs and symptoms of respiratory infection to come at the time when the facility is less crowded or through a separate entrance if available, so we can call them in the late afternoon, for example, when the facility is less crowded or less patient or visitor inside the healthcare facility. If the purpose of the visit is non-urgent, the patient are encouraged to reschedule the appointment until symptoms have resolved. As we mentioned, this is the best practice if the patient have signs and symptoms of respiratory infection. So we encourage them to reschedule the visit until the symptoms resolve it. Upon the entry to the facility, the patient are instructed to wear the face mask immediately. Alert the registration staff ahead of the time to place the patient in the exam room with a closed door upon arrival if available. If not available, we can make the spacing between the patient with respiratory infection and the other patient. If the patient identified after the arrival to the healthcare facility, we will immediately provide the face mask to all the person, including the person accompanying the patient who are coughing or having signs and symptoms of respiratory infection. Place the impacted patient or the patient with signs and symptoms of respiratory infection in the exam room with a closed door as soon as possible. If the exam room is not available, the patient, as we mentioned, should be seated far away from the other patient to make spacing to prevent the transmission of the infection. The accompanying person with respiratory infection symptoms should not enter the patient care area and encouraged to wait outside the facility. This may be exposed to the infected person, or some respiratory infection can be transmitted even without sign and symptoms is appear. Key recommendation for respiratory hygiene and cough etiquette in dental setting, it's include all the measure we have explained in the previous slide, implement the measure to contain respiratory secretion in patient and combining individual who have sign and symptoms of respiratory infection at the beginning point, during entry point to the facility, and continuing this measure throughout the visit. This measure include posting the sign to instruct the patient about the sign and symptoms of respiratory infection, to instruct them about the encourage them to self-reporting about this sign and symptoms of respiratory infection, provide the supply needed for the tissue and non-touch receptacle for disposal of the tissue, provide resources for performing hand hygiene, like providing alcohol hand rub dispenser or the hand wash station near to the waiting area or in the waiting area. Offer the mask in good quantity to covering the patient and other symptomatic person when they are enter the dental setting. Provide spacing between the infected individual and the individual or the patient with signs and symptoms of respiratory infection and the other patient. Also, this measure include the education for the dental healthcare practitioner on the importance of the infection prevention measure to contain the respiratory secretion, to prevent the spread of respiratory pathogen when examining or caring for the patient with signs and symptoms of respiratory infection, to also educate them about the appropriate use of personal protective equipment, the PPEs, and the right way for doing the hand hygiene and clear adherence to the 5 moments of hand hygiene. And now we will talk about the precaution and consideration during the public health emergencies. Spread of the virus and bacteria in the dental setting. In some viral disease like the COVID-19, the influenza, and the measles, infectious viral titers may be seen in the patient with or without symptoms, as we mentioned, with highest level increasing or decreasing over the course of the infection. In other cases, such as the tuberculosis, only the patient with active symptoms and coughing can spread the infection to the other patient. The risk of the exposure is not just to the blood-borne pathogen and the airborne pathogen like the COVID-19, but also we have other pathogen like the herpes simplex viruses, type 1 or type 2, cytomegaloviruses, the influenza, measles, and other viruses and bacteria that can colonize or infect the upper respiratory tract infection or the conjunctiva or the skin, as well as the environmental organism like the Legionella and the non-tuberculosis mycobacterium, which may present in the water that are used for the dental treatment. The virus and the viral particle are consistently persistent in the saliva in the infected individual and can remain viable and and infectious in the aerosols for hours. This is also from how is this virus is dangerous. It can be remain viable and infectious in the aerosol for hours. Large particle respiratory droplet containing potential infectious agent are produced when an infected person is coughing or sneezing or possibly just exhaling the air during the breathing. This droplet can land on the oral or nasal mucosal membrane or the conjunctiva or the surface that are touched by the dental team who then touch their mucous membrane or the eyes by their hand, resulting in the exposure by this pathogen. Droplet and sputter are also generated by the dental procedure when using the rotary machine or using the handpiece or the ultrasonic dental instrument, or even by simple procedure like the tooth brushing. Early in the pandemic, as we remember in the pandemic of COVID-19, many dental practices were shut down or limited to providing the emergency care. And of course, this These measures are advocated to slow the community transmission and in some cases to conserve also the supplies for the personal protective equipment. When there is moderate to substantial community transmission of highly infectious or pandemic pathogen or public health emergencies have been declared, like the COVID-19 pandemic or the influenza viruses, additional infection prevention strategy and precaution are followed, like the screening, the source control measure, and we will talk in the next slide about these control measures, the testing technique or the work practice and engineering control, in addition to the respiratory hygiene and the cough etiquette program. Source control and the screening screening and triage measure can break the disease transmission link by avoiding contact by the dental healthcare worker to the other staff member and the other patient who have potentially infectious individual. Step to implement the source control measure. First, when scheduling the appointment, ask the patient if they have signs and symptoms of respiratory disease. Have he visited location with high disease transmission rate or had recent high risk exposure to infected person or have been diagnosed with a transmissible respiratory disease? This is very important step to implement the measure. Ask the patient to contact the office to reschedule their appointment if they subsequently develop symptoms or have belief they may be exposed to the infected person or infected case. Also, to schedule this with respiratory symptoms to come when the facility be less crowded, as we mentioned, like in the late afternoon, or only if the case is emergency treatment is needed for the evaluation of the patient. Also, from the step to implement the source control, providing visual alert or notice inappropriate language, like for example, posting the visual alert in Arabic and English language at the dental practice or the dental setting entrance. This visual alert should instruct the patient and the person who accompany the patient to inform the dental practice or the dental team of the symptoms of respiratory infection that they have, to encourage the self-reporting from the patient that they have a sign and symptoms of respiratory infection, and to practice the respiratory hygiene and cough etiquette, and to practice the measure that we mentioned in the previous slide, and also to practice the social distancing while they are waiting in the dental facility. When the patient arrives, document any sign and symptoms of the illness, like the presence of coughing or fever or the muscle ache or nasal congestion or sneezing, or they have headache, and the risk for exposure to triage prior to seating them in the waiting room or in the dental operatory. If a patient meets criteria for suspected infection based on local guidance, defer non-emergent care and reschedule based on clinical judgment and local recommendation for testing and for medical evaluation or self-monitoring or quarantine according to the local guidance or local guideline. If a patient suspected or known to be infected required urgent or emergency care, instruct him to don a face mask upon entry to the facility, and try as much as possible to avoid the aerosol generating procedure and provide the least invasive effective treatment, like for example providing pharmacological management or the palliative care management to resolve the acute symptoms. If aerosol generating procedure or the surgical care must be provided, refer the patient to a facility capable of providing the treatment using the isolation room or the isolation precaution. Consider the teledentistry option for oral condition that can be managed without the immediate operative or surgical intervention. including the home care or the virtual instruction and the pharmacotherapeutic option, including the mouth rinses, the using of antibiotic or the analgesics. Require mask to be worn by the patient, like personal mask or face cover, and the dental team wearing surgical mask in both in the clinical and non-clinical dental office space. For vaccine, preventable disease like the influenza and COVID-19, vaccinated dental healthcare practitioner may remove the mask in non-clinical area like the administrative office or the break room. The dental healthcare practitioner should, however, be cautioned that the breakthrough the infection may occur in person who have been vaccinated, as we have in the pandemic COVID-19, there is healthcare worker vaccinated and they are getting the infection. So the possibility for getting the infection for the vaccinated healthcare worker, it's possible. Limit the number of persons in the waiting area and enforce the social distancing for at least 6 feet or 2 meter as recommended in the waiting area and in the staff break room. Consider having the patient wait in their car until you are ready to bring them into the clinic, and this is one option if the waiting area is not capable to isolate the patient with signs and symptoms of respiratory infection. We can simply instruct them to wait in their car until the appointment time come. Encourage the family member and the caregiver and the visitor with respiratory infection symptoms not to accompany the patient during their visit inside the facility. We can instruct them to wait outside the facility to prevent the transmission of the respiratory infection. Also, one of the steps to implement the source control measure to remove all the magazine, the children toys, or the oral health brochures, or any material that can facilitate the transmission of the infection between the patient, making also the tissue and the non-touch receptacle for use tissue disposed available. Provide also located dispenser of alcohol-based hand rub and ensure that the soap and disposable towel are available in the public restroom. Do not allow the patient to brush or floss their teeth in the clinic restroom. We can instruct them to brush at home before the appointment time or before the arrival to the healthcare setting. So we do not allow the patient to brush in the clinic restroom or in the waiting area. When community prevalence is low and when no public health emergency has been declared, source control measures including social distancing and the mask wear may be relaxed, but the respiratory hygiene and the cough etiquette program and measure should be always remain and always implemented. Droplet and airborne precaution during the public health emergency. This information we have talked about it in the last lecture. In addition to the source control measure, the following work practice and engineering control can help avoid the exposure to the infectious droplet and aerosol in the clinical environment. Droplet transmission precaution and the airborne transmission precaution. For the droplet transmission precaution, as we mentioned before, wearing the appropriate PPE, including at least the surgical mask and the face shield or the eye protection, using a pre-operative mouth rinse to mechanically reduce the amount of the saliva and the mucin that may contain infectious particle, using the intraoral barrier like the dental rubber dam or disposable barrier, suction devices, the cotton roll or drying pads to limit the amount of the saliva droplet during the dental procedure, using the high volume suction system or evacuation system for droplet generating procedure, changing the barriers and clean and disinfect the contacted surfaces between the patient for surface reasonably anticipated to be exposed during the dental treatment. Also, encourage the patient to brush their teeth, as we mentioned, prior to coming to the dental setting to avoid the contamination of the bathroom fixture, especially when there is moderate to substantial community transmission of highly infectious disease. In addition to the standard for the airborne transmission precaution, in addition to the standard personal protective equipment, of course, we need to wear the fittest respirator for all the aerosol generating procedure, and when there is moderate and substantial community transmission of disease that are transmitted by the airborne route, like the measles or the tuberculosis, and for all procedure in patients suspected or confirmed to be infectious by airborne pathogen. Ventilation system have adequate flow rate, air exchange per hour, and flow pattern to move the air from the clean to the less clean area flow direction to reduce the distribution of the airborne pathogen from the contaminated area to the clean area. If facility ventilation system return the air to the treatment area rather than evacuate it to the outside the building, ensure that the other means of filtration that are adequate to remove the particulates and inactivate the microorganism are installed and properly maintained inside the dental clinic, like for example using of the HEPA filtration. If the HVAC system, heat ventilation, air conditioning system do not provide adequate flow rate or airflow pattern, consider the use of portable high efficiency particulate air HEPA filter unit to supplement the HVAC system or the conditioning air conditioning system when performing the aerosol generating procedure. Also select HEPA filtered unit based on its clear air delivery rate. Place the air filtration device, this is very important point, also near to the patient head with the flow oriented parallel to the chair to ensure that the contaminated air is not pulled into or past the breathing zone of the dental team. Perform the aerosol generating procedure in individual patient room whenever possible, or maintain at least 6 feet of space between the patient chair in the facility with open floor plans, using easy to clean floor to the ceiling barriers if necessary. Now we will talk about the airborne infection isolation room and the standard of the airborne infection isolation room. It is a room designed for person having or suspected of having an infection with organism spread by airborne droplet nuclei, as we mentioned, and this nuclei is size less than 5 micron that make this pathogen spread and sustained in the air for a long time. Like for example, the tuberculosis and the varicella zoster viruses, the measles, it should be located in individual patient care unit or grouped as a separate isolation patient care unit. Outside each room, there should be a sign indicating the type of isolation, which is the airborne isolation precaution, and the PPE that should be used by the treating team. Each airborne isolation infection isolation room should contain only one patient bed and has its own toilet. An anti-room is not required, but it is preferable. It should contain hand washing station and storage area for the unused PPE, and including the disposable or holding container for the used PPE to discard the PPE inside it. The anti-room should be at a negative pressure with respect to the corridor, but in pressure less than the negative comparing with the airborne infection isolation room. The bathroom should be the most negative pressure area in compared to the anti-room and the patient room. The presence of hand washing station sink should be operated without the using the hand. So we are using sensor regulated hand washing station sink. The doors and the window of the airborne infection isolation room should have a self-closing device in all room exit door. The edge seal should be provided along the side and the top of the door frame for any door into the airborne isolation room. The use of the bottom edge door sweep to assist in maintaining the negative pressure inside the airborne isolation room should be permitted. The window for the airborne isolation room should be completely sealed and not allowed to be opened to maintain the negative pressure inside the room. The window material should be also made by easy to be cleaned and disinfected material. The privacy curtain should be also capable of the wash and the cleaning by the housekeeper or the treating team. The floor and the wall of the airborne infection isolation room, the wall finish should be smooth, scrubbable, and water resistant and capable of withstanding the cleaning and disinfection activity or the chemicals. The wall and the ceiling finish should be free of fissure or open joint or surface that may retain or permit the passage of the dirt particle. The cracks and the perforation in the ceiling should not be permitted inside the airborne infection isolation room. All the edge inside the room should be rounded. We mean the edge, the area that have contact between the wall and the ceiling. Ventilation system for the airborne infection isolation room. Each airborne infection isolation room should have a permanently installed device or mechanism to monitor the differential air pressure between the room and the corridor to maintain the negative pressure inside the room, whether or not there is an anti-room. A visual alarm system that indicate if the negative pressure is not maintained for at least minus 2.5 Pascal is not maintained inside the room. So this alarm the treating team about the negative pressure is not maintained inside the room. All the air from the airborne isolation room should be exhausted directly to the outdoor after passing through the filtration system. At least 12 air exchange per hour should be take place for the ventilation system. The exhaust air grills in the patient room should be located directly above the patient bed or in the ceiling or in the wall near to the head of the bed of the patient. Management of patient with history of symptoms of tuberculosis and other highly infectious respiratory disease. Mycobacterium tuberculosis, the bacterium that causes the tuberculosis is carried in small droplet nuclei that can be generated when person with pulmonary or laryngeal TB sneeze or cough or speak or sing. This small particle can remain suspended in the air for a long time, for hours, and be inhaled by the susceptible person, causing infection for this person. Only person with active disease are infectious, as we mentioned for the tuberculosis. It's only infectious with the active disease that have pulmonary or laryngeal TB. The symptoms of active disease may include a productive cough or night sweats, or the presence of fatigue, malaise, the presence of fever, or unexplained weight loss. All these signs and symptoms are typical symptoms of the active tuberculosis. Many individuals who are infected with tuberculosis or TB develop a condition called latent TB infection. Latent TB infection where the bacteria continue to live in the lung but are held in check by the immune system. Person with latent TB are not infectious, but about 10% of persons with latent TB they can develop active disease later on in their life. No special precaution are required when providing dental care for person with latent TB. It's only for a patient with active TB like the pulmonary or laryngeal tuberculosis. Preventing TB transmission in the dental setting as well as other highly infectious disease transmissible by a droplet and aerosol, including the COVID-19 and the influenza and the measles, can be achieved by implementing the following best practice. Be aware of the community prevalence and the transmission rate for the TB and the COVID-19 and the other infectious disease, and institute source control that we have mentioned before when they are declared public health incidents or emergency. Differ the dental treatment on patients who have history of or symptoms of undiagnosed active TB or other serious or highly infectious respiratory disease such as the COVID-19. This patient must not be remain in the facility any longer than the required time to evaluate their dental condition and provide the least invasive palliative care and arrange for the medical and dental referral as indicated. While in the dental office, have the patient practice social distancing and always wear a surgical mask in the office except when they are in the dental chair. If urgent or emergency dental care is needed, the patient should be treated in a facility that can provide the airborne infection isolation in a negative pressure isolation room. If the care must be provided in the dental treatment facility for cases such as the facial trauma or severe infection requiring incision and drainage, follow established protocol for the use of respirator, the HVAC system, and the room air ventilation using non-aerosol generating procedure as possible. Provide elective dental care only when the patient medical provider confirm that the patient is no longer infectious. Thank you all for the listening, and now we will receiving if you have any question about today lecture.
صباح الخير دكتور.
صباح النور، حياك الله أخوي فارس.
الله يسعدك. حبيت أسأل بس هل ممكن أطلب من المريض اللي يعاني من أي أعراض تنفسية وكان يحتاج يعني urgent treatment أطلب منه إنه ينتظر خارج المنشأة مثلا في سيارته إلين يجي موعده؟ شايف هذا حل أفضل.
Yes of course، هذه واحدة من الأوبشن اللي فعلا يعني حتى يعني أتذكر أثناء الجائحة كثير من الدنتال سنتر طبقت هذا البروتوكول سواء بال governmental sector أو في البرايفت سيكتور، وأثبت يعني فعاليته، وهو أصلا من recent recommendation أو الجلوبال جايد لاين للدنتال كلينيك. It's one of the source control measure. We can instruct the patient to wait outside the facility in their car. If not available maybe the patient is not having a car, we can place them in a separate room or in the waiting area with a space from the other patient 6 feet or 2 meters. It's a very good option.
عليكم دكتور، يعطيك العافية على المحاضرة.
الله يعافيك إن شاء الله.
دكتور بس سؤالي بالنسبة للإيزوليشن في respiratory يعني للبيشنت في الويتنج اريا، يعني دحين أنت قلت إنه يكون في spacing between them. طب إذا مثلا نبغى نعمل isolation area how we can do it in the open waiting area؟
As we mentioned in the slide, we can we have two options. If there is a separate area, we can by identifying this area, there is a border for this area, there is a wall for this area, we can make the patient wait inside this separate area. If not available, we just applying the social distancing or the spacing between the suspected or infected individual and the other patient by at least 2 meters or 6 feet.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Welcome. Of course, the separate area is the most preferable one or the best practice, but some facility they have maybe they don't have enough space to provide the separate area. So the social or the spacing between the patient that are infected and the other normal patient, it is also option for this facility. طيب في أحد برضو عنده استفسارات حاب يستفسر عن محاضرة اليوم؟ بقية الزملاء بقية المراكز؟
معليش إذا المريض جاني عنده فيكشوس ديزيز، هل يعني العادة اللي تكون عادية ما فيها أي ايزوليشن ديفايس مثلا استقبل المريض فيها عادي، ولا مثلا أستخدم الهيبا فلتر اللي هو البورتبل المتحرك؟ أذكر كان عندنا في الخاص بورتبل نستخدمه بعض العيادات، هل هذا نوع من الخيار يعني أستخدمه إذا ما أقدر أحول المريض مثلا؟
يس
مكتوب المحاضرة إنه لازم أحول المنشأة تكون مجهزة يعني، إذا لازم أستقبله بالعيادة وما عندي أي أجهزة، أستخدم الهبة فلتر المتحرك.
يس لو نتذكر انه لازم نحن نمشي على كل الريكومنديشن، يعني من الاساس انا evaluate the case is it emergency case or elective dental treatment.